What's going on, guys? It's Brendan Dzwierzynski here, live from the home studio following a Washburn men's basketball loss to open up the men's college basketball season to Henderson State, with the Reddies knocking off the Ichabods 79-73. It was a little bit noisy at Municipal Coliseum in Kansas City. There was one game left to go on Friday night, so we packed up, headed home, and we're recapping now what was a tough loss for Washburn. The Ichabods actually led for a majority of the game. They finished with over 21 minutes spent leading in the contest, but unfortunately, they just ran out of gas on both ends just a little bit into the second half. It wasn't right after halftime. It wasn't quite midway through the second half, but several minutes into the second half, the Reddies went on an unbelievable run, led by Frank Camgain, who's a transfer from Kansas City, formerly known as UMKC, who went absolutely nuclear after the break. He had just 4 points in the first half, but he added on 16 in the second half, including 5 3-pointers, had a free throw late as well that really put this one out of reach. He was the impetus behind Henderson State's run, and Washburn just struggled to get any stops, but this was an example, at least from my opinion, on the baseline of one of those games when sometimes the other team just gets hot and even good defense isn't necessarily enough to keep you in a game. Washburn had its own tremendous performances in this one. Connor Deffabaugh with double-digit points. He had over 10, had 10 points at halftime. All of last season, he averaged 9.2 points per game. Well, he had 10 in the first half of this one. He's obviously being asked to do a whole lot more this season as one of the veterans for this Washburn team. But in the end, that wasn't quite enough. And Levi Brown with a career kind of night, 21 points in the losing effort, 15 of which came in the first half. He had 7 3-pointers made in the contest. He was 7 out of 9 from 3-point range. Knocked down 5 of them in the first half. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. 15 points in the first half, 6, I should say, in the second half. Unfortunately, not enough for the Ichabods in this one. They did have one other double-digit scorer in the game. Andrew Orr did not score at all in the first half, but he came away with 10 points in the second half to help lead the way for the Ichabods. A couple surprising notes for Washburn. Michael Keegan, who did have a good game in a lot of ways, one of those situations where you don't have to shoot the ball especially well to still have a good game, had 8 rebounds, had 3 blocks to lead all players in the game. He did not score until the very last few minutes of the game, ended up with just 2 points in the contest. The reigning MIAA freshman of the year, ending up with just 2 points in a game against a team that is probably on a fairly similar level to Washburn this season. This is a Henderson State team that is now in its 8th year, starting its 8th year, under its current head coach, Jimmy Elgis. They were picked to finish 2nd in the GAC this year. Washburn picked to finish 4th in the MIAA. We know the MIAA is among the, if not the very best basketball league in the entire country. So 2 teams on a fairly similar playing field, but in the end, Washburn just did not have enough gas offensively or defensively, and they come up on the short end of a 79-73 loss. So Washburn, unlike last season when in Kansas City they were able to start 1-0 despite a bunch of injuries to open up the year, does start this year 0-1. But they will get a chance coming up on Saturday night to rectify that slow start. They've got a matchup coming up against Augustana, the team that handed Washburn its first loss last season, while the Ichabods will try to flip the script this year and come away with their first win of the year when they take on Augustana on Saturday night in Kansas City. We will be there for that broadcast. You can hear it on Country 106.9, KTPK Topeka. I will be on the call of that one, so we're looking forward to it on Saturday night. Scheduled tip time is 7 o'clock. This tournament has been known to have some delayed starts, so we will see if it actually ends up tipping off at that time. But until that matchup coming up on Saturday night, one final time, your final score on Friday night, Washburn falls to Henderson State in its men's basketball season opener, 79-73. Until Saturday night, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. Make sure you are checking out all of our coverage of all things Washburn High School Chiefs, KU, K-State athletics over at 580WIBW.com, and listening, as always, to Washburn Sports on Country 106.9 and to the rest of the 580 Sports crew on 580 WIBW.